But
We're
I know. Let's this way better.
there. You go. Okay, time for another video chat, this time with my old friend and comedy veteran, Dean Oleson.
My ex-wife had a routine when she saw a spider, and it went like this. First, point at the spider from across the room, then scream at the top of your lungs while walking towards the spider. And then she'd always spin around and look at me. How did that get in here? Honey, if you can walk on the ceiling, breaking and entering, it's not that tough. One time she saw a big spider. I'll grant you it was a big spider. She screamed, ran into the bathroom, and I hear, click! She locked the door. Even the spider looked at me like, so just for the hell of it, I started screaming, my God, it's got a key!
But
We're
I know. Let's this way better.
there. You go. There you go.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
This is very.
By the way,
yeah.
when I signed in, it asked me, "Do you want to connect with internet audio?" I said yes.
Aha.
Could that be why the video's bad or the audio's bad?
Audio's not bad. I checked it.
Oh, okay.
As long as you didn't change anything from when we were talking before.
Nope.
Okay. All right, man. Now looking at you, God, you've aged.
You look like a 13-year-old boy, which is why I'm doing this.
That's what I like.
Yeah, I know.
So, no, really, you look good, man. You look good.
Thank you, buddy. You too. You're a handsome man. You got a great jawline, I've noticed.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. This could be more like an internet dating thing than.
I was going to say, we're this close to gay porn, buddy. This close.
That's what I like to. I like to tell people I'm about one F stop away.
Oh yeah. Oh hell yeah.
So
how you been?
I've been pretty good. Well, I've been pretty good. You know, I mean, all things considered, you know, with this damn virus and everything. You probably haven't been doing much work, comedy wise.
No, not much. I do the occasional. Well, prior to the pandemic, I did the occasional corporate, private party, that type of thing. And of course, as you know, they all evaporated right away. So
right. And I just got to get this out of my head before we go any farther. When I called you, when I first tried to set up the Zoom thing, you texted me that you were on a very important call, but by the looks of you, I think you just woke up from a nap.
No, this is the best I've looked, buddy. This is it. It just goes downhill from here.
Yeah. You work from home.
Oh yeah.
I do.
Totally.
I do too, man. I do too. And I get vain though. I started doing these video things. So now I'm in front of the mirror before I do the Zoom call. And
that's as good as it got?
And that's as good as it got. It's the best I can do these days.
I know, me too, because you're right. I do real estate and I have, you're always working from home. I pay for a desk at our office and I haven't been in that office for 6-7 months.
Now, do you have to pay for that desk?
Well, it's not literally paying for the desk. You're paying for the services that the brokerage offers.
Right.
So it's not literally the desk. However, I used to go into the office, at least 4 or 5 times a week. And now I don't go at all. Yeah.
I don't go out much either. But before we get too far into the real estate business, let me just explain to the 2 or 3 people that are watching this.
Sure.
That Dean was one of the very first headliners I worked with. Probably 27, 28 years ago.
I know, right?
One of the very first. And you've been doing comedy all along. You just recently got into real estate as a kind of a part-time part-time comedy, part-time real estate thing. Is that right?
Yeah, more real estate now, but you're right about the 30 years. That's a long time.
Yeah, I know you put in as much time as I have on the road because you started a few years before I did. And I'm still working the road except for the last year where I just booked my first gig, and it's April 2nd and 3rd at Joker's in Richland. And my last gig was a year ago in February. Wow. because of the virus.
Right.
So yeah, I got my first shot. I'm getting my second shot in a few days, and then I'm just going out there and doing what I can. But anyway, all right. So just for the fun of it, I remember I think it was my first out of state trip, or one of the first out of state trips I did. I was living in LA at the time, was with Dean Oleson as the headliner. And I remember I had to pick you up at this little airport because you flew in. I'm thinking, what the fuck? This is a one-nighter tour. This guy's flying in.
A big shot.
Mr. Big Shot.
Oh, yeah.
And then it turned out, what, your mom works for the airlines or something? And no? Am I getting this wrong? Did you fly in?
I don't remember, but I think it was one of those deals where if people don't realize it, typically the opener will drive on road gigs.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And so for whatever reason, I couldn't get from A to B to hook up with you. And so I just took a flight, and some of those flights are surprisingly inexpensive. Some are crazy expensive. But that particular one, if I remember correctly, you picked me up at the airport and then we just hit the road, right?
Yeah. I was in Oregon, I believe. And I'm a driver, man. I drive. If it's less than 8 hours or 8 hours or less, I'll drive, And I am not used to flying into really small airports on small airplanes. So that was pretty impressive. And I remember you're always talking about you were doing like corporate movies and commercials and stuff like that. And I used to call you Mr. Big Shot.
Yeah. I don't know if there's any corporate movies, but
well, I've never done one, so I don't know.
That's right. The Sears story, but they're doing what they call industrials. And
that's what
right.
Yeah.
They're less glamorous than you may think. They tend to be training videos and things like that,
Yeah, but I remember where because you spend a lot of time again, for those that aren't comics watching, spend a lot of time in the car. Like once I picked you up at the airport, you go from, if you're doing one-nighters, you can go 4 hours is basically a day off. You have a 4-hour drive. And 6-8 hours is normal. 12 hours is a little bit out there, but it happens, So you spend a lot of time in the car, and I remember because you'd always be talking about these big shoots you had coming up. So
yeah, because I'm an asshole. It's very simple, Leif.
I pick him up at the airport, and he's got to tell me about all these big shoots he's got coming up.
Oh yeah, it's like I told Spielberg. I go, I can't remember the whole conversation.
Did I give you his number?
Yes, you did.
Okay, all right. Yeah.
And that was the first time I got arrested.
Yeah, I was going to say, I hope he wasn't pissed when you called. I hope you didn't tell him the number. No.
Yeah, it was fine. No, but those are very unglamorous shoots. I mean, every now and then you get a really cool one, but it pays the bills.
Yeah, and I'm giving you a hard time about it.
No,
but it was fun, man. We became friends. Right. And that doesn't always happen. Sometimes you drive with somebody and there's a lot of silence for 8 hours.
Well, I'll tell you, that happened to me when you're talking about sitting in the car for a long time. I remember, as you well do, is working Canada, especially for Yucks. And they would book you typically about a month and a half worth of work. And it was driving every day for an average of 6 hours a day.
Yeah.
And one thing that I learned is I started getting pain around, my midsection all the way around it. And I finally went to the doctor and they said, what the hell? And he goes, you're sitting down a lot, aren't you? And I go, yeah. And he goes, and you're probably a little dehydrated. And I go, I don't know. But it was a prostate thing.
Oh,
and I'm like, holy
wow.
crap.
You were like 28.
Well, yeah, something like that. And I said, am I in danger of anything? He goes, no. But what happens sitting that long and it needs to be, you know, hydrated. And I'm like, that was the first time I went, shit, I'm getting old, you know?
Yeah.
But then on the other side, like you were saying, somebody that you don't get along with, there was this comic that shall remain unnamed. And for whatever reason, he and I just hated each other from second one. And we'd have to do 8-hour, 6-hour drives together. And the entire time, neither of us said a word.
Yeah.
It was really weird.
Yeah. I've had a couple of those experiences and I've always, I remember one, and again, I think it's good not to mention names if we have negative things to say about people or places.
Right.
But it was this comic that just acted like a total jerk. And I was a headliner on this run. And he whined to the booker about me. And then I got to talk on the phone, right? We're on this, and it was in Canada too, actually. And I get on the phone with the booker the next day and he goes, yeah, he's been complaining about you. And I told him what was going on. And he goes, well, you know what? If you want me to dump him, I'll dump him right now. I'll replace him. And I'm a nice guy. I go, no, that's all right. We're in the middle of a run. I don't want to do that to him. You know, he's an opener. He's barely making, probably losing money on the trip, if anything. And I've regretted, that was like 30 years ago. And I've regretted ever since. And I'm going, yeah, dump him.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Because it did not get better. It did not get better. And at one point he actually told me, things could get worse. And that's when I wish I would have told the booker, dump him, and then walked out to the car and said, things just got worse.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I actually had a guy who was an opener for me who came up from LA. He landed in Yakima, Washington. He actually flew up.
Yeah.
We get together. He seemed like a nice enough guy. We hung out before the show and everything was fine. And we do the show. And afterwards, I can't find him. I thought, hey, well, maybe we'll have a beer together. Something. He didn't answer his phone in his room. So I figured, maybe he got lucky or something. I don't know,
Right.
The next morning I get a call from the booking agent and said, what the hell are you doing? And I go, what are you talking about? And he said, according to the manager of the hotel, you spent the whole night after the show trying to score Coke. And I go, well, I'll guarantee you one thing, that I didn't do it. So I go down to the manager of the hotel and I said, why would you tell the booking agent that? And he said, and it was actually a she, I think. And she said, well, that's what I've heard, that your opener said that you were looking for it. And where can he get it? And I thought, that son of a bitch. So I called the booking agent and I go, I don't want to work with this guy. And he just goes, well, I'm going to call him in his room and have a chat with him. And he called him and the comic completely disappeared.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He just took off. To this day, I have no idea where he went, but he had like 2 or 3 more shows booked.
Right.
We had to replace him.
And I had something on my mind when you were telling that story, because I wasn't listening to you. I was thinking about what I was going to say next. And then you talked so long, I completely forgot.
Right.
So,
but I mean, if you think about it, so many of us comics can't cross paths that often.
Exactly.
I mean, you and I would go a year or 2 without seeing each other.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what happens. I started out as an opener, as we all do. And you were the headliner. And that's how I met a lot of my friends. I have a lot of, you're in the Seattle area. I can mention that, right?
Right.
And I have a lot of friends in the Seattle area, because that's where I started working when I started doing comedy, was in the Northwest, working for Pat Wilson, Dave Tribble, and Donna Richards and everybody. And so all these people like yourself that I became friends with were headliners. And then I got to a point where I started headlining. And then you never see each other anymore.
Exactly.
You don't work on the same bill. You get, then you start working with openers.
Right.
So, yeah. Right. So that's one of the ironies of the business. And it may be why we're still friends.
Right, right. But it's really weird to think about because you and I think like young guys, just like buddies. And all of a sudden you go, holy shit, I've known Leif for 30 years.
Yeah, you're right. It's amazing how fast time goes. And I'm just thinking now, just 10 years, the last 10 years. And of course, the older you get, the faster it goes. And you don't realize that until you get there, until you're there. And then try complaining that somebody that's 10 or 20 years older than us,
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, it still blows my mind to this day that 9/11 happened 20 years ago.
Oh my God. And I did a show on 9/11. I don't know if I ever told you about that, but I had a triple gig in Missoula, Montana. And I watched it, and my daughter was about 3 years old. Well, let's see, it was in 2001. She was born in 90. I was in 94. So she was like, she was 7 years old, 6 years old. I got up in the morning and I watched it happen on TV, as the first plane had already hit, and we watched. And then I was explaining it to her. I said, yeah, this plane just hit this building and it fell down. And then she said something like, oh, now the other building's going to fall down.
Wow.
And then the second plane came and hit. And I mean, as horrible as it was like, okay, well, I got to drive to Missoula. It's an 8.5 hour drive. So, she went to school. I went to the gig, and I did not even cross my mind that, I could just call up and say, hey, I'm not coming,
Right.
I just went, just programmed to do shows. And when I got there, it was like surreal. Traffic was going, but it was just a surreal feeling. And I made an illegal turn right in front of a cop. Cop was looking right at me. He was sitting right at the intersection. And I just knew that he wasn't going to do anything about it.
Right.
It was just like, what? He made an illegal
Not today.
Not today. Yeah. It's a lot more going on today than this. And I knew he didn't pull me over. And I went in there, and the bartender is going, well, I guess we'll do the show, and we're all going, God, how's this going to go? Mm-hmm. And it actually turned out really well, because everybody in the bar had been sitting there all day watching this tragedy, watching this horrible event. And it was like a relief. It was like 8 hours of just, negativity and sadness. And I did the show, and it went really well, because it was like a sigh of relief. It's like, we can tune this out for a while and laugh.
Right.
And it gives me chills right now to think about it, because it was just, and I'm thinking right now, I'm even thinking, God, it's weird that I just went and did the show,
Yeah. But, I think comedians play a role in stuff like that, catastrophic things. I mean, we all know the comedian who handles it badly. But for the most part, it's good to have. But on the funny side of it, I had an opener playing Spokane. I had an opener. He's doing 30. He and I hadn't talked before the show. When I walked into the showroom, he had just gotten on stage. So we didn't have any kind of conversation before the show. And he's wrapping it up. I know which bit he closes on. And he gets his big laugh. And then he says, hey, before I bring your headliner up, I just want to let you know something I just saw on the news. Lady Di was killed.
Oh, God.
Anyway, here's your headliner, Dean Oleson. I'm like, oh, my God. This is the first I'd heard about it.
Right.
So I'm in shock. The audience is in shock.
Right.
I say, could there have been a better way? Maybe.
Yeah. Thanks, Mr. Newsman.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, that's your job. It's your job.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You couldn't wait till after the show.
But you couldn't have opened with that.
Exactly. But in retrospect, it's kind of funny, but at the time it was
it shocked the audience. I think we've all had that. I did a corporate here locally in Idaho, where I live, and it was like people will know who I'm talking about here. It's like the richest guy in Idaho, up at his mansion.
Oh, the potato guy.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And it was a corporate event for his corporation. and it was the annual stockholders meeting, and people had flown in from all over the country. It was like people from New York, you know, people came out. These are the big stockholders in a huge corporation. And right before the show, somebody brings me the guy that's going to introduce me. And they go, this is Mr. So-and-so. He's the vice president of the corporation. It was John, I'll just make up a name, you know, Mr. John Richards. And I said, hey, oh, I stuck out my hand. I said, hey, John, I'm Leif. He goes, Mr. Richards. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm Mr. Skyving. Nice to meet you. Yeah. So he goes, well, you know, I hate to tell you this. This is exactly what he said. I hate to tell you this, but when I bring you up, I'm going to have to give him a shit sandwich. The corporate earnings aren't what they were expected to be, what people expect them to be. I was going to announce it tomorrow at the big meeting, but I think I'll do it right now. And he goes up there and he tells all these rich people that they've just lost a lot of money in the last quarter. And it just got dead silent. And here's Leif Skyving, the comedian. Yeah.
I know.
I had to do 30 minutes to total silence. Finally, when I did my closer, my last bit, you know, where I do the balloon that turns into a bagpipe.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen your work for so long.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But I mean, it's a crowd pleaser, so I saved that for the end, right? And that was the only laugh I got and applause after 30 minutes of total silence and people looking pissed off the entire time I was up there. So yeah, I've heard worse though, where people have done a eulogy for somebody that just died, and now to cheer us up. Yep.
Well, I was doing a Christmas show, a private as well in Wenatchee, and it was a group, fun group, you know. And then I started riffing with audience members, and I started talking to this one guy, and somebody in the audience said, "Hey, he just lost his wife days ago."
Oh, nice.
And I'm like,
your picture.
Oh, you know what? I have an incoming call, but I'm going to ignore it. So,
well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, we got back to you.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's just horrible. But again, in some ways, with given enough time, it's kind of funny to look back.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's a funny story to tell now. Yeah.
Exactly. But at the time, it sucked.
Yeah, absolutely. It's painful. But, yeah.
Tucking on a bigger topic, I think some of the comedy coming out now is 10 times better than when we came up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I look at some of the old, and granted, you have the luxury of time to look back, but now some of the writers are hilarious, you know, very well written material, well delivered, clever, really gives, they put that extra thought into it. And I mean, I sit back and just go, these guys weren't around when I first started, with some exceptions.
Right. Oh, there is your picture again. What happened? I lost you. All right. Well, I don't know if I'm going to hear back from Dean, so I'm going to end it right now. I don't know if there was a technical malfunction on his part, but hopefully we can do more of these things. So if you want to subscribe, please do. And if you stuck with this video this long, I am thinking about turning this mustache into a pencil thin mustache. So if I get 5 likes for this video, 5 likes, I think that would be a record actually. If I get 5 likes before I make the next video, then the next video I will have a pencil thin mustache. Take care.